Welcome back, lovely
Hello,
people.
guys.
Hello.
Welcome.
So if you're here, you either found us by mistake, found us and said, "Oh, this is interesting," or you listened to our last episode and realized that this is the first of our 2 weekly episodic series that we're doing now. So yeah, welcome. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah, it's either Thursday or Friday, depending on where you're listening from. And uh, we've got a doozy of a second episode for you this week. We've got a couple really just poignant, uh, just different, and we're excited to share what we have to say with you.
Yeah, agreed. No, I mean we got two. If you were here on Wednesday, you will know that we are going over Stanley Kubrick's 1962 film Lolita, and then 1964. Was it 64 or 65? 64.
64.
1964 film Doctor Strangelove, or what was the title? How I wait? No. Say the title. Say the correct title. I love it so much, and I'm blanking.
Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying
And love
and
the
Love the Bomb. Love the
so
Bomb.
magnificent title.
It could be my favorite film title of all time.
Yeah.
I did a little story. I got kicked out of drama class my senior year of high school. And every period during drama, I was to work on a presentation. And I ended up doing about a 5-page presentation or 5-slide presentation in about a month and a half of supposed to have been working on it, but I was in the library with my friends. But I did a little like Greek tragedies or my presentation that I had to do because I got kicked out of drama class. That was the title.
Really?
It was a lot more eloquently worded than that, but that was a little tangent. But I'm also one to employ such a.
Oh, that's fantastic. Because like we were talking last episode, like how much we love the title, but also in terms of like the atmosphere that it created, the font just at the very beginning with this huge title and just kind of it's magnificent because it in some way the font itself kind of paints a story. Like it's kind of it's not ugly, but it's very unique in the sense.
Um,
Sorry, go ahead.
it's almost it's 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 almost postmodern, really. The font. It reminds me of the font that's used in like I said, postmodern sort of satirical books, even adolescent books, like
Yeah,
Diary of a Wimpy or something. It's this like pencil or crayon sort of
yeah. It
sloppy writing with great form.
Yeah, no, it looked like when you're in high school, maybe early college, and you're like, create a poster, and you go to create like the title, and you want to do like the block letters, and you want it to look cool. That's what it looked like.
That's what this is.
Which I think you talked about how it was like goofy looking. I feel like, and I know you didn't say the word goofy, but that's gonna be the way I sum it up. Um, I feel like it really kind of it emphasizes the black comedy that the film ends up being.
And it creeps up on you. The comedy does.
Yeah,
Um, but once it goes full fledged and once this film hits the ground running, it side stitches. It's so funny.
oh yeah, no, I completely agree. It's I think what makes it perfect is that it's taking such a serious situation, but it's making so much light of it, even though the ending is so dark.
It is so. It's probably. I mean, the darkest ending of any film I know. I mean, if you just go by the numbers,
Yeah, no,
this film has a body count of billions. Everyone dies at the end of this film, including our grandparents in 19. Well, this film's set after
in the 1960s.
1964.
So my
Yeah,
grandparents, yeah,
yeah. My father wasn't alive, nor
neither
my
was
mother.
mine. About a decade before my dad came along.
Yeah, my dad was born in '65. So, did you catch Well, I suppose we'll jump into the plot pretty quick here.
Hmm.
Did you catch the name of the U.S. Air Force Brigadier General um, that actually sends the code to
Yeah.
the planes attack Plan R? What's his name?
Yeah, Jack Ripper. I
Jack D. Ripper.
Yeah, like so what's funny is that I keep notes when I'm like when I'm watching a film and I really want to dissect it for like this purpose. I literally take out a notebook and a pen and I just kind of write down my thoughts, kind of write down like information from like maybe character names or like so for instance like the CRM 114 just in case if it's like a metaphor or something that I can remember later. Like I will write that stuff down. The CRM 114 is like the device they use to get information or get like telegraphs or like a message without being on like a radio frequency, right? From the planes. But like I had General Ripper and I was like, what's his name? And then Mandrake says Jack, and I wrote it down and I remember just being like, Jack Ripper?
Yeah, it's on his little nameplate too.
I missed that. I completely missed it.
You know, actually, it's pretty funny. Kubrick calls back to you mentioned the CRM 114. In some of his later numerology, in A Clockwork Orange, Alex is injected with a drug to reform his criminalism, and it's called Serum 114. CRM 114. Serum.
That's so funny. See, isn't that just perfect? That is like Kubrick. That's Kubrick.
It's great. Oh yeah, and we're just in the next month we're gonna go through so much, so many numbers. I mean, Kubrick loves using calling back to important numbers in his past film.
Yeah.
And then in Eyes Wide Shut, there's a morgue that Scientology bro character. What's his name?
Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise's character goes to a morgue, and it is a room CRM 14.
I love it. I love it so much. Um,
How can I not remember Tom Cruise?
Dude, it is. We're recording at 11 o'clock at night after we just had an hour and a half recording, and we're recording our second. So I think you have an excuse.
Well, why? Thank you.
So yeah, no, but the rest of the film, and as Cole alluded to, you've got General Jack Ripper at his kind of military base. He sends out this code, which is called FGD 135 Wing Attack Plan R, and Plan R essentially is if there is a Russian sneak attack, nuclear sneak attack on American soil, and if there is any issue with the president and his chain of command, because the president supposedly or supposed to be is the only person that can deliver a nuclear strike order. If he is attacked or if there is a sneak attack and he cannot give the order, a lower ranking general can. And so this General Jack Ripper sends the order, FGD 135, and he sends one of his planes, or actually more than one, he sends up all of his planes.
A whole fleet of planes, yeah.
Yeah, on this, we follow one. The reason I say one is because you only follow the one. But a whole
And
fleet.
all of these planes launch 2 hours away from their targets in Russia.
Yes, which is perfect because the film's 90 minutes, and so you are almost pace for pace, stride for stride, following the storyline as it unfolds from code launch to the tail end whenever the bomb drops.
And
Spoiler.
it's a very fast movie. I mean,
Yes.
it moves with with the tension that Kubrick creates. It moves just as fast as the politicians are probably feeling like the planes are.
Yeah. Um, and I completely agree. And so the rest of the film, after General Ripper sends out this order, the rest of the film is you have politicians in Washington with their fictitious president and all of his generals in the war room trying to decide what to do. And that was, I think some of those scenes in there were the most funny instances in any serious situation I've ever seen ever. The conversations between the Kremlin and what was the president's name? It was so funny.
Merkin Muffley,
Yes, it was
played by Peter
so.
Sellers.
Yes, Peter Sellers play, dude. So this is something I wanted to talk about. Peter Sellers plays Doctor Strangelove himself. He plays President. What was it, Merflin?
Merkin Muffley.
Muffley, there we go. President Muffley. And this one was the one that caught me off guard because like I knew he played those two. I watched the whole film and I was like, when I looked it up, I was like, what was his third? Because I looked it up because I didn't know if there was any third character hiding in the woodwork that I just didn't notice. And surely enough, there was. So I was like, which one is it? He played Mandrake.
Yes, and Mandrake is the funniest character in the movie.
Oh, I love Mandrake. That's what like the range this man has.
Oh, what a talent! And I'd never seen one of his movies. I mean, I guess I'd seen the Pink Panther when I was a kid, but not in recent memory.
Yeah.
And then I watched this and Lolita in a span of 48 hours. Like, wow,
Peter Sellers,
the
man.
comedic range.
What was the statement that we had texted back and forth? He might be one of the most criminally underrated talents in all of cinema history.
Yes. Another thing that we failed to mention, uh, highlighting some of the, I guess the complete silliness of the way that these military things are carried out is under attack plan R. Um, the flight the radios on the planes have to be set to CRM 114, which means that they cannot receive any like callbacks on the code. They cannot receive any new codes from Washington or anywhere else. They can only receive codes from other planes.
Yeah. And they have to receive when they receive a code, if they are to receive one to be like a callback code, they have to receive a specific like letter, like 3-letter code. And that code was picked by General Ripper, and nobody knows what it is. And so I guess this would be a good time to kind of fill in the holes in the story that we have painted so far. So story begins. General Ripper sends out the code, puts his base on lockdown as per the instructions under Plan R. And as everyone kind of figures out, so you follow another character named General Buck, and he was another one of my favorites in this film. I think he cracked me up almost as much as Mandrake
General
did.
General Turgison.
General Turgeston, Buck Turgeston. He was so good. He was very infuriating at times, but he was very funny. Um, but General Buck, I like calling him General Buck because I love the name Buck. But General Buck Turgeston, this man, I love when he gets the phone call because it really, like, it's a black comedy, so it's a very serious and very dire situation. I love the awe it kind of sets in immediately whenever he gets the phone call when he's in bed with his secretary. Yeah, he he picks up the phone because another general's dying to call him, and he doesn't want to take it, and he finally takes it, and he's like, "Wait, why can't you talk to General Ripper?" And the dude says, "Yeah, I cut off all communication." And General Buck is like, "Do we have any reason to be launching this Plan R? Like, put everyone on code red, like lock down everything and just be safe. But like, do we have a plan?" And the other dude was like, "No." Like over the phone, like you don't hear it, but you infer because General Buck's response is like, "I didn't think so." So I think that just like the kind of what sets up to be a misfit chain of events is very like, what are we missing? Like in this serious situation where we're nuking Russia, what information is the rest of the White House missing? And it
Oh,
turns
it's just
out,
comedic genius.
oh, it was beautiful. And so it turns out, as the rest of the story unfolds, General Ripper himself is he's not schizophrenic. He's just paranoid.
He's paranoid. From pretty much the first time that he speaks, you start to kind of understand that he's a paranoid man because he's so paranoid about the communists.
Bodily
You
fluids.
speak on it for a second, and I'll find his first monologue.
Okay, so as you hunt for that, so this man, you heard me say bodily fluids because this man is infatuated with the idea that communist Russia has silently infiltrated their government. Not only are they going to take over and educate their children to be communists, and they're going to turn the democracy that we know and love as of 1964 into a communist state. He also believes that they changed the fluoridation of the water and are making the water kill them. So he constantly goes on and on and on about our precious bodily fluids, and he drinks nothing but like straight distilled water, and he goes on and on about how he talks to
And he
Mandrake.
believes that Russians never are inclined to drink a glass of water.
Yes, he
They
insinuates they
only
only
drink
drink
vodka.
vodka. Yeah,
It's real, just comedically xenophobic
yeah,
statement after statement about the commies, and that's his hatred and his fear of the communists are why that he deployed the attack in the first place. He
right.
says, "Do you realize that fluoridation is the monstrally conceived and dangerous communist plot that we have ever had to face?" He's talking about like water purifying,
Yeah,
purifying water, and you realize, and it's very deliberate, that he is the fluke in the system that everyone talks about, the human error,
yeah,
that someone like this with this level of insanity could be trusted with something as dire as the nukes.
yeah. I think the funniest conversation from that when he's going on and on, he's what did he say? He was talking to Mandrake, and they're so long story short, after he launches his attack, the president orders another general to send his men into the base. What was it? Was it Burpelson was the name of the base? And
Something like that.
so literally you have like base on base fire in this kind of world that Kubrick has created. Like literally, General Ripper and his man Mandrake are both lying down shooting what a Gatling gun of sorts. As what kind of gun was it? It wasn't a Gatling gun. It was just it was a
Like a Browning
yes.
50 cal,
It was huge.
like a belt fed.
Yeah, and Mandrake is forced to feed the bullets through as General Ripper is absolutely firing back through his office, and they stop for a second, and and Ripper holds Mandrake close, and he's like, I learned about this when I was making love." And he said like a loss of essence. He said like I just felt like I had lost some of my soul or something to that. And he said, I can promise you, Mandrake, ever since I figured out this, he said in that moment, that was when he learned. He's getting older, so he just can't perform anymore. But then because he's paranoid, he associated that with this communist fear. So then this man says, I can promise you, Mandrake, it's never happened again. And then he continues to say, women have tried. They have tried to gain my essence. And he shakes his head and his cheeks flap back and forth, and he goes, "But I've denied them." And it's just like, what are you talking? And then when it cuts back to Robert Peter Sellers, his face he makes in that moment, he's just like, "Oh," like it's so funny. It
It's
like
just he's flabbergasted the entire time. He's the audience at this point.
he really is, and it's so funny. Like in that moment, I'm watching this, and like I'm enthralled because it's a Kubrick film, and you, like I keep saying, you had this really dire, serious situation. Everything you said about the flaw in the system, you know it, and you're frustrated because you know the code from the very beginning. And you know this man can give it, and he just won't. And you're frustrated, and you're enthralled by this horrible, horrible situation. And as I'm sitting there just invested, he drops that monologue, and I just start cracking up. Like I cannot help but cackle because it's just so stupid. It's like,
Uh, do you know what? A little bit later in the film, the one that got me, and it's just how Peter Sellers delivers these few lines. It's when like Ripper is in like the depth of his like just psychotic break, and the army, the U.S. Army at that, is approaching their room, and he's not shooting, right?
mm-hmm.
And Mandrake wants him to shoot because Mandrake thinks that the Russians actually coming in, and Mandrake doesn't want to die. And Ripper's just spewing all this nonsense. And Ripper says, "I don't know how well I could stand up under torture." And Mandrake says, "Well, of course the answer to that is, old boy. No one ever does. And my advice to you, Jack, is to give me the code now. And if those devils come back and try any rough stuff, we'll fight them together. We'll fight them together, boy. Like we did just now on the floor, eh? You with the old gun and me with the belt and the ammo. Feeding you, Jack. Feed me, you said, and I was feeding you, Jack."
Yeah.
And Ripper says, "No, Mandrake, I happen to believe in a life after this one, and I'll have an answer for what I've done, and I think I can." And Mandrake says, "Well, of course you can, Jack. Well, of course you can. You can. I'm a religion myself, Jack." I believe in all that sort of thing. And he's trying to give him anything. He's like, just please give me the code or start shooting these people.
Yeah.
Don't go into a psychotic break.
Like I don't want to die, but also like please, like
Please
please,
just give me
Jack,
the code now.
please. Like it's it's morbidly funny, but it because like what happens next was but it was leading up
Oh,
to so General Ripper goes into the bathroom and shoots himself and he dies. Um
hey, can I do a little another little reading?
yes, I love everything you're doing is fantastic.
Let me find it. Let me find it. Uh, it's Merkin's call to the premier, to
Oh
the
my
prime minister of Russia,
gosh, yes,
is
dude.
the
Dude,
funniest thing I've ever heard in my
it's
life.
dude the thought of like so to paint the picture of that. So you have these bombs going in or these planes with these nukes going into Russia, and the president is trying to find any way to ease over what's happening and make it stop. And so he brings in a Russian delegate who picks up the phone and he speaks to the Kremlin and he's like, "Be very careful, he's drunk," and then hands the phone back. And and
Can
and then here's the
I read the
conversation.
whole call?
Dude, go for it, man. Go.
It says, hello, Dmitri. Listen, I can't hear too well. Do you suppose you could turn the music down just a little? Oh, that's much better. Yes, fine. I can hear you now, Dmitri. Clear and plain and coming through fine. I'm coming through fine too, eh? Good then. Well, then you say we're both coming. Good. Well, it's good that you are fine and that I'm fine. I agree with you. It's great to be fine. Now then, Dmitri. Now then, Dmitri. You know how we've always talked about the possibility of something going wrong with the bomb. The bomb, Dmitri. The hydrogen bomb. Well, now, what happened is one of our base commanders, well, he had sort of, well, he went a little funny in the head, you know, just a little funny. And he went and did a silly thing. Now, I'll tell you what he did. He ordered his planes to attack your country. Let me finish, Dimitri. Let me finish, Dimitri. Well, listen, how do you think I feel? Can you imagine how I feel about it, Dimitri? Why do you think I'm calling you? Just to say hello? Of course I like to speak to you. Of course I like to say hello. Not now, but anytime, Dimitri. I'm just calling up to tell you something terrible has happened. It's a friendly call. Of course it's a friendly call. Listen, if it wasn't friendly, you probably wouldn't have even got it. They will not reach their targets for at least another hour. I am positive, Dimitri. Listen, I've been all over this with your ambassador. It is not a trick. Oh my god. Like, that's just
It's
the
so
bomb,
funny.
Dimitri.
I felt like
The
it.
hydrogen bomb.
Dude, it felt like two parents, like when one, like say that you have like a kid over, like a sleepover, and then your kid beats the crap out of your other person's kid, and you gotta be like,
Yes.
so, Lily,
I hope you're fine,
yeah,
but
uh, I
let me
have,
tell you what's happened.
I have some terrible news. My kid went funny in the head, and he absolutely beat the living shit out of your child.
Your child has died.
Yeah, like it's so fun.
No,
Like
let me finish.
it's
How do you
the
think I feel about
it's so funny. Like everything about that. Like Peter Sellers is comedic gold, and dude, like I love every conversation between Dimitri and the president was so funny.
it? It was so well. Okay, so what happens is Jack D. Ripper and Mandrake are, you know, being closed in on by the army, whom they think are the Russians. And Ripper has the code that can bring back the planes, but he goes to the bathroom and kills himself, shoots himself right in the head. Um, so Mandrake is then in the room, and then an American soldier like comes into the room, and he's like a cool kind of guy. And they have some funny lines. And then Mandrake's like, "Let me use the phone. Let me use the phone." So he goes and he calls the war room. He gets a hold of him, and what was exactly how he described what the code might be? It was a phrase that Ripper kept repeating,
Yes. So
and
on the base, there was a phrase that was plastered everywhere called "Peace on Earth."
yes,
And in Ripper's psychotic state at his desk, he kept writing the phrase "peace on Earth," and he had this like weird like symbolism all over this piece of paper, and that's how Mandrake figured it out. Because after Ripper shoots himself, Mandrake goes to the desk to figure it out, and he sees all the peace on Earth, and he see because it's put in like all sorts of different variations, and that's how he discerns that it's either like POE or OEP or OPE or whatever. It was OPE is what it ended
yes.
up being. But that's how Mandrake,
So
smart man.
they guess it. They guess OPE, and they send this code out to all the planes, um, except for one plane. Well, the Russians actually shot down a couple of the planes,
Shot
the other ones,
three.
and then yeah. Um, and then after the president spoke to the prime minister and told him what was going on, um, or the president, whoever it is, whatever his title is, but the plane that we've been following, as sort of the B plot, they had been shot, but they escaped the Russians, and their code transmitter was damaged, and it can't receive codes. So there's still one plane heading towards Russia, uh, with the nuke, with the bomb. Um, and you wouldn't think that that would be as bad, uh, as you know, hundreds of nukes, but there's one stipulation. And what is that one, Ryan?
The Russians, as so eloquently put by Dr. Strangelove earlier in the film when he describes it, this what I'm about to describe is super easy. And he said it's actually something that they should do, but they should tell people about it. So he was very mad that the Russians did what I'm about to describe and didn't say anything. And it was hilariously described by their ambassador that the Kremlin likes surprises, so he was going to announce it in a couple days. But now that there's a nuke going, now everyone knows there's a doomsday device buried in the ground in the earth of Russia, and the whole point is that when a nuclear attack happens on Russian soil back in the day, the USSR, it would set off this doomsday device that would encloud the entirety of Earth for 93 to 100 years in radioactive plume that would kill all life on Earth.
All right.
And there is now still one plane that can't receive transmissions, flying very low, damaged, leaking fuel towards Russia, manned by
In Russia.
in Russia, manned by Major Kong.
Major Kong.
I love that man. He's so funny.
Uh, he reminds me of myself because he's from the sticks. He's just
Yeah,
a good old boy.
he the first thing he does at the very beginning of the movie, whenever they get the code and they get it verified, he goes to a safety box and he like a lock box and he like unlocks it and he pulls out a cowboy hat. And then
Yeah.
he has a cowboy hat on the rest of the movie,
He says, "Well, boys, I reckon this is it."
dude. And so the whole James Earl Jones is in the plane too. He's one of the operators of like
Yeah.
the payload. Did you catch
Yeah.
that?
James Earl Jones. No, I didn't. I just kind of acted like I did there.
No.
James Earl Jones.
Yeah, Darth Vader, dude. Like, so you know the dude that was like at the tail end whenever he's trying to open the bomb door bay, and it won't open,
Yeah.
and he's like, "That's James Earl Jones."
Let's look that.
Look at it, dude. Listen to it. Darth Vader's literally like, "Payload cannot be dropped."
Oh my God.
It's
That's
him.
James Earl Jones.
It's
Wow.
him as a
He's so
kid,
young. He's so young.
a
But
decade
yeah,
before Star Wars.
screenshot. He's kind of like a distinctive teeth,
Yes.
and oh yeah, that's him. All right.
Yeah. James Earl. Oh, I guess news we didn't cover before. I guess I forgot. He's retired or taking at least a step back from Darth Vader.
No, good for him. They're gonna use like AI now, aren't they?
Yeah. Okay, and I don't think we should go on with that anymore. We should continue with Strangelove, but I forgot to talk about it in the last episode. So, bonus for sticking around, I guess.
Oh yeah, a little piece of cinema news parts.
Anyway, yeah, the movie ends with so the as we're describing with James Earl Jones, the bomb bay doors will not open, and so Major Kong gets up from his seated position at the front of the plane flying, and they're getting closer and closer to their destination, which they had to. So I guess this is an important detail. They were going towards a specific um uh target, but because of the damage done to their plane and because they're losing fuel so fast, they had to make a secondary target, like just a random, like, oh, this is the closest place, so we're going to shoot this, we're going to go drop our nukes here. The president told the Kremlin to put all their forces at one or two places because there was no way they were going to go anywhere else, and surely enough, the plane went to a third location that nobody knew about. So as they're getting closer and closer, and because of the damage, the bay doors couldn't open, you see Major Kong climb onto one of the bombs. One was called Hi There, and the other was called Hi John, or some variation of the two. There were two of them, and so as he's on it, he's straddling it. He is reaching up, he's like messing with all sorts of cables, and he's like unscrewing stuff. He does it. He opens the bay doors, and as he's straddling it, the bomb he's on top of falls down to the earth. And as he's going down, in typical cowboy fashion, he is riding that thing like a bull, throwing his hat back and
Waving
forth,
his hat.
yeah, the whole way down until he hits the earth and he nukes Russia. And the doomsday device goes off as well.
And everyone dies.
Yeah, the end of the film. Cole, I want you to describe the end of the film.
Well, I was confused by, well, not confused. I was so interested. The solace that these people found, even as they knew that there was nothing that they could do to stop the doomsday device from going off. All the people in the war rooms talking about what they're gonna do after, like, or during the apocalypse. They start talking about this this cave system and going down into a cave system with all these attractive women and repopulating the earth. And at the same time, Doctor Strangelove, who's like half Nazi, is like, could you maybe explain this a little bit better, Ryan? Doctor Strangelove is an ex, Nazi like weapons developer, and it's like half of his body is still a Nazi, so he's constantly trying to not Heil Hitler and trying to not, like, you know be a Nazi.
Right.
So they know that the bomb is going off, so they're all talking about like going down into this cave system and like repopulating the earth, and it proves and it accentuates Kubrick's idea of the disconnect between these upper, these big wigs and talking heads and the actual people, because everyone's going to die. These people are, including everyone in the world, they're because they're the generals and they're not on the battlefield. They don't expect themselves to die.
Right.
And while this is all happening, Doctor Strangelove is part of the conversation. He's in a wheelchair. Doctor Strangelove doesn't walk. And then at the very end, he goes, "Sir," and he stands up out of his wheelchair and he goes, "I have a plan." And he looks down and sees he's standing and he says, "Mein Führer, I can walk." And he hiles. And then the entire world explodes. The doomsday device goes off and everyone dies. That's the end of the movie.
Do you see the bomb go off? I don't remember.
You do. You see a lot of bombs go off.
Yes. So I
And
actually,
then it goes, "We'll meet again."
yes. So I actually have a theory. So number one, I have a quick fun fact. Did you know our boy Sellers, Peter Sellers, he improvised that?
I had no idea, really.
Yeah, that last line where he jumps up, he improvised it, and then he told Kubrick, he said, "You might as well use that one because I don't know what I can't do anything else. Like, I don't know what else you want me to do." And so that they used it. That's the final take. That's the one used in the final cut because it was just so funny. Um, but also, so I have a bunch of running theories, and there's something that you didn't say. So, well, you nailed it. But there was one detail in particular that adds to what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Throughout the whole film, General Buck Turgison is saying one thing. They're lying. I'm not saying he's right, but I'm saying that's something to look at because that there is never a resolution to that, other than the Russians saying they have it. What I think happened, I think there was a bluff.
You think the Russians bluffed?
I think they did, and there's one reason why. Do you remember what the Russian ambassador did whenever Strangelove is doing his little monologue at the end after the nuke went off?
No.
He walked over, left the group, kneeled down, took out a hidden camera, and took a picture of the war room big board.
Oh yeah. This is after Turgison caught him the first time doing that.
Yes. And you
Oh
didn't, and
wow,
here's the thing,
really?
you didn't know. So the first time Turgison stopped him, you didn't know who was telling the truth because the ambassador said that Turgison was trying to plant it on him, and Turgison was saying that the ambassador is a liar and was trying to take the picture. And you could tell the president didn't know who to believe, and they just kind of moved on. But
I
then
didn't know that he did that. Wow.
at the end he does it. He walks away from the group as Strangelove has given his monologue about his plan, and he's going on and on about like he's saying like this is what we need to do. We need to bring these many people down into these mine shafts, and we're going to repopulate the earth. And he's getting all excited about like what people he was saying. We need to just put information into a computer, pick out the most breedable people with the best DNA, which is very Nazi type. And he's saying, and he's getting all excited. And as he's saying that, the ambassador walks over, kneels down as the group's distracted, and takes a picture of the war room big board. What I think happened, I think Strangelove was planted.
Really?
This is now. There's nothing more about Strangelove than so I
Oh.
think Strangelove was planted to misfeed information. Now I don't know how that connects to old Jack Ripper, but I feel like what happened was there was a contingency plan that if the Americans ever bombed Russia, there would be this kind of this smoke screen plan to make America freak out and not attack us anymore, so that not only do we have enough, like we can be like, yo, look, we were attacked first, so we're going to retaliate to our own people, but also America will think that we're friendly with them and we can't help but attack back. Like we have no choice. Our bomb's going to go off anyway. So what happens is that all those bombs you see going off at the end,
Or just over America.
that's just over America.
Oh wow, yeah, and that the very end when Strangelove, Mein Führer, I can walk. He's
Because he was lying.
okay.
He could.
Yeah, I love it.
I don't know why he doesn't have control of his own body, but I feel like him standing was kind of the red herring to be like, okay, he's been lying this whole time. He's not really for us. He's not really helping us. All this information he's been feeding has just been a ploy for whatever reason with Russia. So I wrote down this phrase at the end of the movie. And when I say villains in in this instance, I'm talking about villains to the American people. The villains of our past and present capitalize on our own paranoia.
Yes.
So I feel like I like that when I watched that film, that's what I got because like I asked this question.
That's right. That has to be right.
Yes. So
Because I'm looking here at the screenplay and it really points to that. Because the last line, Strangelove, sir, and then in parenthetical, stands up out of his wheelchair. I have a plan. Ha.
yeah,
In another parenthetical, pauses, realizing that he is standing, and then he says, Mein Führer, I can walk. It's a lie. He's just lying. I thought that the whole thing was like that because I didn't really know. I didn't really know what it meant. But wow. Yeah, that's such that the Mein Führer I can walk is him just saying something stupid that these people will believe to explain why he can stand up.
yeah, because he's been lying the whole time. Because like so when I was watching the movie and when the ending got there and the ambassador leaned down and took the picture, I asked the question like, okay, if the world's ending, why would he care? You know what I mean? Like what benefit does he
If the
get?
doomsday device was about to go off, why would he?
What
Okay. Yeah.
benefit? And the only
Wow.
explanation is because that is the thing. That is the reason. Because Dmitri, the old Kremlin, lied. There was no doomsday device. It was just to get America to bunker and hide and not fight back so that they could
And
strategically and accurately
and
attack them.
not and to get Russia to shoot down their planes or to recall them.
Yeah. There's no way to fight back
Wow.
if they're not if they're already expecting to die. They're not going to fight back.
Well, and also, but it's not really flaw with your idea, but um, the prime minister was trying to shoot down all the planes and deflect all the planes from uh, nuking his country. Not just he didn't expect for just one to, so he could
No.
have a justified attack.
No, so I think what I called it earlier is a contingency plan. I feel like the whole lying aspect, I feel like, and this is where I have the trouble connecting, because I still feel like that is in part accurate. I definitely think that Strangelove was in on it in some way, right? And I feel like the whole point was to get the war room plans. Um, I can't connect it to Ripper, but I feel like what the plan was the Russians. They said, listen, if for whatever reason we ever get attacked and we get hit, we're gonna bluff and tell them we have this device, and then when they go to hide and we tell them we can't do anything, then we'll attack them. In short,
I will. That makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. It. I was so confused with a lot of the Strangelove stuff, because Strangelove only really makes a real appearance, at the
yeah,
end of the film. Like he's not. Strangelove's not even in the movie, really.
no, but it's named after him.
Yeah. Uh, and that even his last line even works as a foil to the whole last conversation about being in the cave system or whatever.
Yeah,
Because the mind Führer I can walk is just it's such a distraction, right?
yeah,
It's just to divert what they're actually thinking,
yeah.
and the consequences of what he's saying. And this whole thing about being in a mind shift is kind of like that too. It's just a distraction
It's
that
so
Strangelove
stupid.
plants. It's so stupid. Yeah,
It
it's
will not
banal.
work.
No, and they understand that the bombs are being dropped right now, but they're talking about like putting it into a computer, selecting people for sexual virility to put into this mine shaft, and it's like, what are you guys talking about? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Oh, but do they when they're speaking about this, they know that the bomb is going off, right?
you talk about the doomsday device.
Yeah,
Yes, so they're under the impression. I still don't think there was one. They're under the impression that it was about to go off and that they had. I don't think they said there was a time limit, but I think that they had like a little bit of time to prep. Like, oh, it's going off, but they're in Russia and we're here, so whatever. But see, that wasn't really explained. I don't think how long they had.
it. This movie just takes such a turn. I think.
Yeah, like there's no real. Just like every Kubrick film, there's really no real explanation, and that makes the rewatchability so high.
I mean, I really think you might have played it pretty well.
Thank you. That's just my theory. I could be wrong. There probably are infinite possibilities of what could have happened, and probably a lot more diverse and a lot more accurate readings of it. Um, but like, see, even to get to Ripper, who's to say that maybe he wasn't gotten at, like the whole reason he was driven paranoid. Maybe that was something to do with the Russians, you know? Like maybe not like fluoridation in the water, but like maybe they did stuff to make him believe that that was happening. Or maybe he was just coincidental,
I think that's coincidental.
which would make it even more ironic.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just an absurdist satirical look at like human error
Yeah.
and just the ridiculousness of the fact that there aren't as many safeguards in place to keep these things from happening. I guess probably in 1964 it was much greater.
Yeah.
Um, and it's it's such a play on arrogance of higher ups, and I've used this word a lot, but they're disconnect from how things actually are, and the things that actually affect people, like everyone dying. And I know I keep harping on the end, but like when we have this conversation, they're just horny. They're sitting here talking about sex
Yeah.
and talking about like I don't even know, just this crazy like stupid idea, and then they all die 30 seconds.
The primal nature of human being.
Yeah, right upon death, all they want to do is repopulate.
Yeah.
That's all they can think about. That's all they're talking about is sex, sex, sex.
Yeah.
Um, they want somebody asked, oh, like if you put all these men and women down here and want to repopulate, like monogamy is not going to be a thing anymore, right?
I think
And he
Turgison said
says,
that, yeah.
no, yeah, yeah. And Strangelove says, no, like, they're just going to be, it's going to be breeding a lot. And all the guys around him, when he says that, they're kind of like, oh. He says, regrettably, Strangelove says, regrettably, yes, as in there's going to be no more monogamy, but it is a required for the future of the human race. I will hasten to add that since each man will be required to do uh, prodigious service along these lines, the women will have to be selected for their sexual characteristics, which will have to be of a highly stimulating nature. And then one of the generals says, "Oh, well, I must confess, you have an astonishingly good idea, Doctor."
Yeah.
And it's almost some like Lord of the Flies stuff, like right at the moment of truth and the most vulnerable and the most you know m- monumental, like this is their last moment. This is what they would rather think about, the pleasures.
Yeah. I feel like
And
sorry, go ahead.
maybe I'm looking at it through the wrong lens, or I'm not really, this isn't how like it was maybe not meant to be deciphered. Maybe I'm missing something, but that's what it's like to me. It's like these guys are pampered. Like you see Turgison's room, he's having sex with a secretary in this. It's a black and white movie, but you can tell what color his room is. I mean, it's probably lime green and lime pink,
Oh, it's
fluffy with pillows.
nice. It's nice.
Yeah, and like these people are sort of living in luxury, and well, like I said, in their last moments, they just can't even they can't stop that train of
No.
thought.
I want to say something about because I think this is a good transition into Lolita, which we'll spend not as much time because we're almost an hour in on just Strangelove, which is just going to be how the Kubrick is. it, um,
Yeah, y'all are gonna get to know our voices real well.
yeah, if you like Kubrick and you want more of what we just did with Strangelove, we're going to be doing that all the time. So stick with us. Moving on to Lolita, my guy Kubrick. This is the 1960s when he comes out with these two movies. Not even like barely the mid. This is like early to mid 1960s. This man's kind of risque in each
Uh,
film.
risque, you say,
No, no,
Ryan?
seriously. Well, what I mean is that like he's got like half naked women in both.
Oh yeah,
You just don't see
for
that. Like
sure.
you don't
Yeah.
see that in the 60s. You just didn't.
Um.
Am I wrong? Like did you just didn't
Yeah,
really see like I felt like that just wasn't in cinema like it is now.
I think there were. I think there were like women in like with their just like bikini tops in the '60s a lot, weren't there?
I don't know. I feel like the 60s was still around the time whenever like cinema was like held under that harsh light. Like it was about to change in the 70s, but like I just feel like the early 60s was still part of that like that it was leaving, but still part of that like that 1950s where like you had like what were they called? Where you had like groups that would watch a movie and decide whether or not it was good for the public.
Yeah.
Like both of these films I think were absolutely panned when they were released. Like people hated them. Critics anyway.
Oh yes, absolutely. That's and with Lolita, that's definitely more so the case.
Yeah. I
It
think
wasn't until quite a bit later that people started to really come around to Kubrick's adaptation of the film.
yeah. I think this is accurate for both things, and specifically with Lolita, I say adults, but the adults suck.
Yes.
They all
Oh yeah.
suck. They all suck. The only person that's somewhat
Tell me about
innocent
that.
is Charlotte.
Yes, I would have to agree. And then, well,
She's not
yeah, she
completely.
is. She's pious. She loves God, and she loves her late husband. She loves him to death. She talks to him,
Mhm.
and if you and she idolizes him because if you look at the photograph of her husband is directly above a photograph of Jesus on the like the armoire
Mhm.
or the dresser.
Yeah.
So I mean that's some just staunch symbolism right there.
Yeah. So I guess to backtrack and go over the whole bit of the story, this one will not take nearly as much in terms of describing, because I feel like the story is much more straightforward in Lolita. Um, you follow this guy, Cole, say his wonderful name.
You ready?
I'm ready.
You want to know what the guy's name is?
I do.
He's the main character of the movie. It's called Lolita, but he's the main character. He's an older man, and he's a writer. He's also a professor of English, of French literature. So I guess it's English. But he's an academic, and he's a well dressed man. He's very well. He's a dirty man. He's very cluttered. And he doesn't really take care of himself aside from personal appearance. He looks very good all the time, and he's very well groomed. Shaves twice a day. Um, and he's a pedophile. He is attracted to young women, and in the book, it is pretty explicit that he's into all these various nymphets as he calls them. Um, but he's attracted to the titular character, a young girl who's 14 in the movie, 12 in the book. The man's name is Humbert Humbert.
You heard it. You heard it here, folks.
Humbert Humbert. That's his name. Can I say it one more time? He goes by Hum.
Please do it.
Humbert Humbert. And he is an Englishman.
Better say he's very British.
Oh, he's the most British. And he is a disgusting, vile man.
He's so nasty. He's so
Oh
gross.
my god. Humbert Humbert is the most disgusting man that has ever been put on screen. I want to take a shower after saying the name Humbert Humbert.
Yeah, you know what makes it worse is that he like acts normal, and so every other character loves him except until they start getting suspicious, but you know what he's thinking and you know what he's doing. And so like when you see him like making
Oh.
oh.
Oh. See, the thing is Humbert moves to America, and as soon as he moves to America, he says, "Yes, I'm going to have a nice, luxurious, relaxing summer and write in a small resort town in New Hampshire." So he, looks around for a place to live, and he eventually finds a widowed woman and her daughter, who live in a nice big house. He pays $200 a month to live there, and he's, before he goes into the backyard, uh, where he realizes that he wants to buy the house. He's kind of on the fence about it, and he's looking around. She's showing him. He's like, "Okay, yeah, this would be cool. Whatever. Like, maybe this is a nice house." And then he gets to the backyard and he sees his precious Lolita sunbathing. And as soon as he sees her, he's like, "Yep, I'll take it. I'll live here with y'all." And he's obsessed with this like child, sexually obsessed with this child. Like he wants to be married to her. He wants to fall in love with her for the whole movie for 2.5 hours. Like this is like 7 minutes into the movie. As soon as he sees her, he has one goal, and it is to sleep with and be with Lolita.
I really so keep going, but I want to read the dude, there's this nasty dialogue of when he or monologue, internal monologue whenever he sees or when he sorry, when he what am I saying? Oh, when he's talking about Lolita before she comes up to his room.
Okay, well, what is it?
Hold on, I'm looking. So he's like writing in his diary and he's talking about how innocent she is, but she knows what she's doing, kind of thing, is what he said.
Oh my god.
Oh, it was so nasty.
He's just so gross. Like I just can't. It's so hard to even like, and you don't really, even though like he's like into this girl, obviously from like the very beginning of the movie, you don't really understand the lengths that he'll go to and the sheer obsession that he has with her.
You don't want it. You're like, no.
You Yeah, as soon as he got in, as soon as he was into, like they go to the theater and like it's like as soon as he moves in and it's like he's in the middle and Charlotte, the mom, is on his left and Lolita's on the right. Something scary happens in the movie and they both grab his leg, like right next to his penis. But he only grabs Lolita's hand,
Oh,
and he
it's
seems to be annoyed that the mother has grabbed him on the leg.
so
And
nasty.
it's just like, oh my god. Oh my god. And throughout the movie, as things come along, the mother falls in love with Humbert Humbert. Like they get married pretty soon, right? So he is now Lolita's stepfather, and he's living with her. Um, but like they go to dances together and they go to social outings. He starts to understand that Lolita is very, very attracted and uh, attractive to young men. She's in that age, she's 14. She's starting to really hang out with these young guys. Um, and what's really happening is that she's 14 years old and she's running around with some little boyfriend, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. She's just hanging out with her friends from school, her classmates. And like they're just having a little innocent, like fun little teenage time. But to Humbert Humbert, she's out here taking it. And he doesn't like that shit. He does not like that. He goes completely paranoid that she's, with these other young, uh, you know, like, Humbert Humbert's an old guy. He's like middle aged, like kind of like late middle age.
Yeah.
Um, and Kubrick uses a lot of like imagery and, like I said, a lot of like I phallic some symbolism throughout to show the depths of Humbert Humbert's madness and his ideas of what Lolita is doing with these men.
So I found his inner monologue from early in the movie.
Well, I also take it back. She's not just classmates. I'll take it back.
You ready for this?
Yeah,
So he's writing in his diary, which comes back. And I didn't
the diary.
I completely forgot the ending of what his monologue was because it completely like it foreshadows what happens. But it says what he says in his diary, and he's monologuing to himself. He says, "What drives me insane is the twofold nature of this nymphet, of every nymphet, perhaps. This mixture in my Lolita of tender, dreamy childness and a kind of eerie vulgarity. I know it is madness to keep this journal, but it gives me a strange thrill to do so, and only a loving wife could decipher my microscopic script."
Oh my god.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like,
Oh my god. I just ah I just hate it so much.
I know, isn't it disgusting?
I hate it. Like I just don't even want to talk about this. Like I do, and we will. But
Yeah, I'm
like
I'm not gonna talk about what
like
he said about Lolita because he says some like,
ah,
but the whole and only a loving wife could decipher.
what does that mean?
Who found his diary?
Oh my god, yeah.
His
The
wife to
wife.
be, or his wife. He marries
His
Charlotte.
wife. That's just so gross, man.
I
Like,
know it's
and he
disgusting.
calls the wife in like the book when he describes her as like the cow,
Yes.
and like here's the thing is like maybe I'm getting the timeline, but this is kind of like what sets Um, and this is like the most absurd part of them. It's actually really fun. Um, she finds his diary. The woman, Charlotte, the mother, finds his diary, and she's disgusted. She's like, "Oh my god, who is this monster in my house? Like, who did I marry?" He's talking about like having sex with my daughter and like calling me a cow, and like he's obviously throughout the movie, like before this, he's just not even interested in the mother.
Yeah.
She's just begging for his attention, and he doesn't care about her. He wants her daughter. So what happens is she finds this book, and she starts screaming about him, and she's like, "Get out of my house!" So she leaves. She leaves the house, and then she gets run over by a car. And Humbert's like, "Oh, good. Ha! That really wraps things up nicely for me."
That laugh is perfect because that's exactly what he's like.
Yeah, he's like, "Ah, okay."
Now she's mine because now he's her stepdad, and
Oh, oh my god, Humbert, dude! Like the whole time, I was like, "Humbert, stop,
please.
stop, like stop what you're doing, man! Like he's so happy."
Yeah, that his wife is dead, and that now he can have sex with his now daughter.
He's just like he goes and he runs a bath, and the cops are like in his house, and he's like trying to take a bath, and he's all happy, and they're like, "Hey, man, like, do you want to know like something? Like, do you want to know how she died, or like, do you want to know like details of the crash?" And he's like, "No, that won't be necessary."
Yeah, please don't tell me.
Yeah, he doesn't even want to know like about that, about her crash, because he's too busy like happily taking a bath because he's excited to be able to marry Lolita now.
Dude, like, even the father of the dude that ran over Charlotte comes in and is like, "Hey, you do know it was the pedestrian's fault, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna sue you. Like, you're completely right. It was her fault, completely her fault." And
Yeah,
the dude's like, even like, "Oh, oh,
he's like,
well,
okay.
the least I could do is pay for her funeral." And then and Humbert's like, "Yeah, you can." Like, it's so bad, man. It's just like,
Like he did this poor woman so dirty.
I know.
Oh, and then he go and like Lolita's at summer camp, right? And it's aptly called Camp Climax because
Yeah.
just further showing like that Humbert thinks that she's going up here and just like doing all this fucking crazy sexual stuff.
Absolutely just getting it. Like,
Dude, catching that rod. But yeah, but Humbert goes and like picks her up from camp, and she's like, "Well, how's mom?" And he's like, "Ah, she's good. She's a bit ill, but she's fine
he's in
nonetheless.
the hospital. That's where we're going.
She's in the hospital." And then he completely stalls the entire way to the hospital just so he can have this like fun little like date adventure with Lolita. And then she's like, "Let me call my mom. Like, let me call
Well,
my mom
hold
right now."
on.
He's like,
Before
"I'm a
that, what? You're skipping something, dude. What happened when they were
what?
at the hotel?
Oh, well, they had sex, of course.
They
Oh yeah!
did the deed.
Oh my god, Humbert.
No, literally. So when I'm watching this, literally, so like I told you, I keep notes, right? And she's
Oh,
like, "Let's play a game." And what's awful is that Humbert was right. She was sleeping with somebody at the camp because she's like, "This game that me and this dude at the camp played." And all she says is, "Look, you've never played? Well, whatever." And then it just cuts to the next scene, like it fades to black. And I wrote in my little notebook, I went, "No!" with like 17 O's, like, "No!"
no, Lolita.
Oh,
Lolita, why?
why? Like, of all the things to happen, why
Why?
did she initiate it? Like,
She doesn't
why?
even know that he's like creepily and like terrifyingly obsessed with her. He
No,
just
and
does it.
it just gets so much worse because
It's like, don't you know what you've done, Lolita?
I
You had
know.
sex with this man. Oh my god. And He's like, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go pick her up, and I'm not even gonna tell her mom is dead until after I've had sex with her. And then
Dude,
the next day, I'm gonna tell her, oh, Humbert, why?
yeah, she's like, let me call my mom, and he's like, she's dead. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
like
She's like, okay, seriously, let me call my mom. He's like, I'm afraid I have to tell you something. Poor Lolita, your mother is dead.
he sounds like a classic villain. He's just like, she's dead. She's like, it
She's
would have been
died.
honestly, it would have been better if he was like, yeah, no, dude, she's just gone. Like, she's dead. Like,
She's out. Yeah.
like
Sorry,
I
she
don't
got
know what you,
murked.
I don't know what you want from me. I'm telling you the
Why
truth,
don't you,
man.
why don't you suck my fucking dick about it?
It's dude, they have the same effect. Like,
Like he's so, oh, it's so because he thinks that the relationship is so like sexy, and he thinks that
she
he's
won't
so
care. She
sexy.
won't care.
No, no, she won't care. She had sex with me,
Yes,
Humbert Humbert.
I'm the only
She won't care
relationship
that.
she ever needs.
Yes, that her only friend in the world, her mother, died in a car accident.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's surprised when she's sad.
yeah.
He's
Like,
like, "You don't have to cry, Lolita."
yeah, what can I do to make it better? And they're at a motel or something, and she makes it even worse unknowingly because she's like, never leave me.
Yeah.
Just like any teenager
Oh,
would do.
she's 14. She just went to camp, and like, we haven't even talked about Peter Sellers' character.
No, we actually we got into the meat of the story, but we didn't say what the intro was.
Oh, so
Is she?
she's 14, and at this point, she's having sex with a young boy at the camp who's like 13. The bomb, Demetri. I'm talking about the bomb, the hydrogen bomb. No, sorry, she, the bomb.
She's dude.
She's at the camp,
I
and she's having sex
wish.
with a young boy. What's that?
I'm sorry. I wish Peter Sellers would have spoke like that. I think Humbert.
Uh,
She was having sex with young boys. Yes,
with young
Humbert.
boys.
Yes,
Yes,
Humbert. With young boys.
but she's doing that. And she's also having sex with Peter Sellers at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
And then she's also having sex with her fucking dad, her
Yeah.
stepdad, who she barely knows. And
It,
then her mom gets hit by a fucking car.
yeah.
Oh,
Peter. So throughout the story, Peter is following Humbert and Lolita. As what was
uh,
his? I know his last name was Quickly. What was his first name?
uh, uh,
Brain.
starts with a C.
Hold on.
Claire Quilty.
Claire Quilty. I think I called him Quickly. Quilty. Yes.
It's so weird. It's like the weirdest part of this movie. That like through it, I didn't even recognize. I didn't even get that this was happening until after I watched the movie. Like, I didn't tell you this, Ryan. I didn't know that any of this was going on.
Which part?
Claire Claire Quilty is Lolita's boyfriend.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't get that?
Well, no, I got it, but like, here's the thing, y'all. Is he's doing some really weird stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Eh, yeah, maybe some of the weirdest stuff in cinema history. He's dressing up as all these people and talking to Humbert to get him to reveal that he is having a sexual relation with Lolita. He's dressing up in all these disguises.
How many did he do? He did a lot. I know he lied about being a police officer. He lied about being a German, not psychologist, but what was he? He was a
Like a
the
psychologist thing.
school something, the school counselor maybe.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Was there another one?
Is it? Uh, there could have been.
I'm trying to see how many characters. Because I know he was. I mean, Claire Quilty was his name. That was who he was. Um. Uh.
Humbert has a nemesis. He's got like a Perry the Platypus.
Yeah. Claire Quilty.
Claire
Claire
Quilty.
Quilty! Like,
Because Claire Quilty is a good guy. Like, well, no. Because
no, he
Claire
is.
Quilty is also having sex with a
I was
14-year-old.
about to say, but
Oh,
like,
no.
wait a minute. Oh,
Oh, no. He's having. Claire Quilty, I think, is maybe the most like unhinged because he's like dressing up in all these guys to get uh Humbert to reveal that he's a pedophile. But Claire Quilty is also a pedophile. He's doing the same shit, and following this man around the country.
yeah. All
Oh my!
accumulating to. So I guess this is a good way to segue into the ending of this.
It's my favorite movie, Ryan. I'm sorry, that's the segue. This is the best movie I've ever seen
What?
because they do some weird stuff in this, and they do not hold back. This movie goes balls to the fucking wall.
No, it does, but
I
I felt
swear to
like I
God.
still like Doctor Strangelove a lot more.
No, I like this one. I will die on this. It's not. I'm not trying to make a joke or anything. I think this movie is fascinating.
No, it is. No,
I think
here's honestly, us talking about it has made me enjoy it a lot more. Um, but I still think I like Doctor Strangelove a lot more. But this one is
they're
just
both. I mean, they're both satire.
yeah, this one's just sick. Like um,
It's just sick.
so
It's sick. Okay, we'll get to the ending.
the way okay, eventually Humbert gets paranoid because he knows this guy's fallen, and we know it's Quilty or Claire Quilty. But he doesn't know that. So eventually he gets a flat tire, and she was actually sick. Lolita actually gets sick, right?
Yes, she
Okay,
goes to the
she did
hospital.
go to the
She's a
hospital.
bad cold.
Yes.
Oh, and also we forgot to say one thing about Claire Quilty. He's also a celebrity in the movie
Yes, he is a TV producer or a TV
and a
screen.
playwright,
Yes. So he's got
and
some
he's like a
power.
heartthrob.
Yes.
He's rich.
Yes, he's got some power. Um, so eventually, after their tire, they get a flat tire as they're traveling across the country. So Lolita, as this happens, gets sick. She goes to the hospital, and then Humbert gets sick actually, and is just trying to sleep it off at his motel. And oh, this was the other character that Claire did. He called Humbert on his phone at the hotel, and
Oh
he
yeah,
questioned him about his daughter and about the relationship they had. And Humbert hung up the phone and went to the hospital to try to discharge her. And lo and behold, she's not there. This
she's not
hospital,
there. She's been checked out of the hospital.
this hospital was just like, oh, her uncle came by, and I want you to describe what he did next.
This is really when you go from this guy is a depraved degenerate to being like, oh, this man will do anything to get at Lolita. And he is an absolute psychopath who only cares about himself and he only cares about his relationship. He is a crazy person because as soon as they tell him that, he's like, no, no, it's not possible. This is not possible.
Uncle?
Lolita is in this hospital. She couldn't have been checked out. And they're like, he starts to get violent. Like he's like, oh, I'm going to the hospital. Like I'm going back here and I'm going to go to this room, whatever. And so they try to apprehend him, and they get into a little quarrel. And he turns around, and there's like a female nurse that's standing there, and he just starts strangling the woman so hard, whipping her neck back and forth. And he's like trying to kill this woman. And that's when, and they go, get the straitjacket, get the straitjacket. That's how I thought it was going to end. That they were just going to put this man in a straitjacket, and that was going to be the end of the movie. But they kind of calmed down and they let him go for some reason after he just like gave this woman like extreme whiplash. Like he messed her up.
Like, he
They had all
actually tried
hold
to
him
kill her.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he tried to kill this woman. And they're like, nah, he's okay. Let him go.
Yeah, he won't do it again.
Yeah, no.
They really were just like, he's fine.
Yeah, yeah, he's good. Like,
What did
because
they?
you got to remember, this movie was made like you've seen old movies. This movie was made in 1960. Like
Right.
they kind of do weird stuff in old movies like that. Like sometimes logic doesn't really come through. Like they didn't really have it all figured.
No, but it still cracks me up that they were just like, you know what? He
Uh,
apologized. He apologized.
yeah, he's British.
He can't possibly be dangerous.
Yeah. So what? Okay. This man Humbert, he doesn't see Lolita for 3 years after, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then he gets a letter 3 years later from Lolita, and she's like, "Hey," and you can see it. You can see her typing it out on the typewriter. She says, "Hi, sorry I haven't talked to you in a while. Whatever. Uh, I am married. I'm going to have a baby. We have a lot of debts. Send money." So Humbert is like, "Oh my God, I've got to go to her house now. Like I can't just send her a check. Like,
Yeah. Like now
I gotta,
she's yeah.
yeah." He's like, "I gotta go to her fucking house." So he goes. Like he drives there, and it's real menacing. He's got that white car that like it's like a Cadillac or something. And it's almost like the shark in Jaws, like dun 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 dun. Uh, Humbert in his car driving to her house. You get the feeling of dread. You're like, oh my, what's he gonna do
Not
here?
again.
Not again. Like Humbert, go home, go
Leave this
home.
poor woman alone.
Yeah, leave her alone. But he can't do that.
He's still
He's
obsessed.
Humbert. He's obsessed. So
he's
he goes.
he's Humbert. I love that excuse for him. He just can't help it.
I mean, throughout the whole movie, he does just some of the most strange stuff. It's just like that's who he is. That's what he is. That's why he left England. That's why he couldn't be there because he did this to like
They
several other women.
they kicked him out.
They kicked him out of the country. So he goes, and Lolita is living her absolute greatest life that she could ever be living.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. She's got a wonderful, like, cozy home.
He's married.
She's she's married. She's pregnant. She looks beautiful. I can't really say that, but she looks great.
She looks like she's a grown woman.
Yeah, she has like some weight on her. I don't know if they like intentionally did that. I mean, she's pregnant. She's wearing just like she went from wearing her like sort of like sexual outfits to like she's wearing like a maternity sort of like I don't know what you call it, like an apron sort of thing. Like she has become domestic.
Right.
Not really great. That's how Humbert was. Not
I know what you mean.
and she's got her husband up, her husband and a friend, a neighbor, and the husband comes in and he's like so chill compared to Humbert. Like he's such a foil. He's such a like an anti Humbert because he's just a nice. He is the complete. Lolita said, "Yeah, that guy that I used to fuck with. The next guy is gonna be nothing like him.
Oh, it was
Nothing
perfect.
because yeah, because he's like this country old boy, and he's nice and he's strong and he's pretty and like he's nothing like he's young and he's nothing like old Humpert. And Humpert talks to him a while, and you think, okay, you think this is it. Like you think Humpert's kind of figured it out. Like, oh, she's happy. She's obviously having this great time here in this house, with this man. He's like, well, Lolita, can I have a word? Humpert goes, her new husband goes out back, and he looks at Lolita and he's like, there are 30 paces to the car. Get in the car right now.
I know. Like, he still begs her to go.
Why are you there? Why? It's like leave this place with me and start a new life with me.
Like, what is he talking about?
When will you ever learn? And she's like, no.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Why would
I
I do
cannot do
that?
this, man. Why would I ever do that? Old nasty man. So he just starts crying, like he starts weeping. Um, and then you think that, oh, like you think he's no, like he's no use. He's always gonna just do the stuff. And then he gives her 13,000 right there on the couch, like after he cried. Which in the equivalent, like that's like an equivalent of 100 grand or something now.
Right.
Like that's
No,
a
it's a
lot of money,
lot of
you
money
know.
for
That,
1962.
oh yeah, 62. 13 grand is like that'll set you for a long time.
Yeah.
Um, and then he gives her the money, and then he does the most Humpert thing that you could ever do. He gives her the money. She's like, "Thank you." And he sprints out of the house. He sprints to his car. And he drives away at 100, and that's the last Lolita ever sees him.
Because he does what?
Oh, you want to know what he does after that?
Yeah. Well, what starts and ends the film?
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm gonna describe to you all the beginning of it because you have a scene that um you have the very end of the movie that's said at the beginning. We haven't talked about this man Humpert. He goes to Claire Quilty's house. Lolita has, um, you know, after her mother died, she admitted to Humpert that she. Well, no. She admitted this to Humpert as soon as he got to her new house. She said that Claire Quilty had been her boyfriend for a long time, and that they started having sex when she was 14, um, living with Humpert's mother, and that he was just the only guy that she'd ever been crazy. And Humpert's like, "Oh my god, I thought crazy about me." Um, so, and she says that like he had been dressing up in all these costumes and been spying on them and following them everywhere, um, to get. And what was he doing it exactly?
Sorry, what?
Why was Humpert? Why was Claire Quilty following?
He was obsessed.
He was obsessed with Dagon Lolita too.
Yeah, I think I really like. I mean, there probably is a lot more deeper reason, but like the whole film, like it was. I mean, I had a feeling it was Claire, and because like at the very beginning, whenever Charlotte, remember, Charlotte actually meets back up with Claire at the dance that they all kind of go to for the kids for their high school,
Yeah.
and
And what
Charlotte.
did she say?
Sorry, what?
What does she say?
Charlotte asks if he remembers her, and he does, and he
Oh
immediately asks
yeah.
about Lolita. And I think that kind of like that kind of kick-started his feelings for her. And then immediately, whenever he suspected that Humpert, because it takes one creep to find another, when he suspected that those two were doing their deed, because he had his interest in her there, and then he ran into them at the hotel.
Yeah.
So
And pretended to be a cop,
yes, so I feel like after
even
he
though he showed up as Claire Quilty
yes,
with his wife. Like Claire Quilty has a too,
he's got a
or it's
whole
like wife and
wife.
friend. Yeah. He shows up as Claire Quilty. He's sitting there like eyeballing Lolita, who he knows, and Humpert, who he knows.
Yeah,
Um, and then when they see him later, uh, Quilty is pretending to be a cop. So that's when he made his decision. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna really like do some just Looney Tune style like creeping on this, and like, and get her, have her. Oh my gosh, what a ridiculous movie! But anyway, so what happens is she tells him all lead cozy, and then he gives her this massive sum of money, and then he ridiculous fashion to his car, and he just drives away. You find out he's driving to Claire Quilty's house, and he gets there, and Claire Quilty had just had a massive party at his house. Looks because there's just drinks, just just it's in utter disarray. There's like clothes like sheets everywhere. And this is really when I'm sure Humpert is being like, oh my God, this girl that I thought was so innocent, Lolita, and was mine, was really at these wild sex raves. Like, who was this? And it also made him even more mad at Claire Quilty for doing all these things. So he gets there, and Claire Quilty is there under a sheet, on like asleep, drunk.
Yeah.
And so Humpert shows up, and he's like, "Yeah, Claire Quilty, I'm gonna kill you. Like, I'm gonna kill you right now, bro." And Claire plays with him for a long time and adopts all these different voices, completely just goes to every length to disrespect Humpert,
Yeah.
while Humpert has a gun in his face. You know, Humpert like gives him a poem to read that he wrote about killing Claire Quilty, but Claire just brushes it off. Um, and then yeah, he misses him after trying to shoot him for 6 times. The last shot, he hits him in the leg, and then Claire Quilty crawls behind a photograph, a painting of sort of a classical, like medieval, who looks just like Lolita. Um, and Humpert shoots Claire Quilty through the painting 6 times, and he kills him, symbolically shooting him through the painting of Lolita, saying that because he got to kill Claire Quilty, his obsession with Lolita is finally over. Killed that part in his brain, and that's the end. That's the end of the.
Yeah, and you also like I was saying in the intro. That's how the film begins: is Humpert finding Quilty and shooting him. And then it goes back 4 years, and then it comes back at the tail end, and then whenever he walks in and asks for him, it cuts to a running like a scrolling dialogue, like he died in custody on trial for the murder
Oh
of
yeah,
Claire Quilty, and that's the end of the
yeah.
film.
God of like muscular thrombosis.
Yes, like something like random.
Yeah. And he died in jail.
Yes, sir, he did. And
I I think that Humpert is my favorite movie character of all time
Humpert,
because he is just the damnedest old guy. Like, look up a picture of this guy, Humpert, to the audience. Like, I I can't describe just the feeling that he gives me. Not because of his action, just the acting is so good from whoever played him that you realize, like, oh, this is the most disgusting man that I've ever seen in my life. Like, this guy is just notably nasty and just depraved, and he's just
I'll give you that.
Humpert.
The actor was fantastic. If you're looking at you talk about him being your favorite character because of the actor, I'll give you that.
Oh, Humbert.
Humbert was we described everything under the sun. He is nasty.
You get to know him well. You really do. Like, Humbert by the end of this. You don't know Lolita. She's always a mystery.
No,
But Humbert, you kind of start to get what he's about. And he's about one thing, and that's Lolita. Like, as soon as he saw her, he was like, yeah, I'm an old man, but that's that's for me.
I'm going.
That's what I like.
I'm gonna have this little girl.
Little bad thing, bro. Little bad bitty. That little bad bitty. Come
No,
on, hop
dude.
on, girl.
Yeah. I
Yeah, you
I
fine as hell.
after discussing it, it's definitely a lot deeper than what I think I thought of it originally, like by myself. Like I didn't think it was a bad
Yeah.
movie. I just felt like it wasn't as deep as Strangelove, but I definitely do think now that we've discussed it and I've just kind of heard it and we've had our little talks about it, I definitely think it's got more depth than what I originally gave it credit for. So I'll give it that. I still think Strangelove was better.
I think Lolita is better. I think Lolita is like I. I mean, yeah, it's a comedy. Lolita's. sure comic. Um, and like I get it. I get like I I couldn't stop cracking up through them. Like I laughed so many times just because of the sheer just ridiculous nature of how much this man wants his stepdaughter. It's just absurd to me.
Oh, I know. It's repulsive, but it.
Uh, that's all. I should have more. There's a great deal of symbolism. Everything in the mise en scène, everything you see in every shot of a Kubrick film is going to mean something, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and this is no exception. This film, I mean, you could watch it over. Always with the look at things on the walls. If everything is perfect in the shot, look for something that's askew, and that's going to mean something. Kubrick hides these clues, and there's not a uniform way at all of deciphering, figuring out what they mean. You have to do that on your own. You have to figure out, okay, what what object or what character, piece of dialogue or anything is Kubrick trying to draw attention to anyway. And maybe the fact that he doesn't draw attention to something is him drawing attention. You know,
Oh, exactly.
there's so many layers, but there's always gonna, like cross character element going on. Everyone is always going multiple characters present other characters that exist with the same film. You have to just like if I had more examples, tell you it's almost 1 a.m. Like the shots killing Quilty at the end, going right through a character that looks just like Lolita, things like that. And we'll get more into this, especially with The Shining, especially with A Clockwork Orange. 2001 is a little different story. Full Metal Jacket, different story, but still just so dense thematically. Everything. Eyes Wide Shut is a lot like The Shining and A Clockwork Orange. Oh, a lot of these films, I feel like I've seen Eyes Wide Shut. I've seen it 3 times. I love it, and I find a lot through these films that Kubrick kind of calls back to with Eyes Wide Shut. It really seems like it was, even if it doesn't seem like. But once you go through the catalog, you start to realize, like, oh, like there's sort of a there's a lot of there's like a cinematic universe.
Yeah, for sure.
Films
Like they
really, there's so many callbacks.
every Kubrick film feels like it's connected in some way, but they don't reference each other.
No, they do in very subtle ways.
Right.
Um, but sort of the idea of the erotic thriller, the the yearning for a sex that you can't have. Then we're talking real like sex, talking
Yeah.
about sexuality. That's just a lot of the themes that come about in Lolita. Um, they definitely later, and I would say that the Kubrick film that I mostly link this to is I Watch. I think that they're quite similar.
And that's a pretty high praise because you've talked a lot about Eyes Wide Shut, even off like I know on here specifically, but like even off, you love that movie.
I think I mean I love The Shining in catalog, but Eyes Wide, it will never drop. I can't let just that. I love it. It's one of the best movies ever made. I
Yeah.
think it is so gripping. This is not the Eyes Wide Shut episode, but I can't wait for it. It has one of the most gripping plots of any film I've ever seen, and just the things that Kubrick says, especially about sexuality with the two films, is it. He's really saying these movies are all encompassing. They're saying everything about sexuality.
Yeah.
And I think Kubrick really did a good job with that. Where I think a lot of directors and movie people don't aspire to heights. That's just not what they're trying to do. But I think Kubrick in a lot of these films, he picks a topic, Lolita, uh, obsession, Full Metal Jacket, war, the limits of the human psyche. Same with The Shining, sexual repression with Eyes Wide Shut, and he says, "I'm gonna say marriage with Eyes Wide Shut. I'm gonna say everything about this subject,
Yeah.
this topic. I have to say everything because you can't leave anything out." And I think that he was the master um of of doing that. And he, as we can see, Kubrick started that very early on. This very early in his career. You know, he had several films before this, but
Oh
still,
yeah.
when you look at the whole, this is like his like third or fourth, fifth movie. Um, but Humpert
Yeah.
is obsession. That is the character,
I think.
and every aspect of just this just insane yearning that one might, Humpert does it all, baby. Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, he does. This man knows no bounds.
Oh my god.
In that breath, I think it's time to rate them both. We can change the ratings later after we've watched a few. Um, but I think we should start with Lolita because we spent the last 40 minutes on it. What do you think Lolita should be ranked? I know you're going to rate it higher than I am. I want to hear it.
I will give Lily. What do you give it?
I give it a 7.8
7.8 what?
out of 10. 7.8.
7.8 what out of 10?
I know. I'm thinking. Hold on. I actually was thinking about this yesterday when I watched it. I was like, oh god, what I'm gonna rank it. 7.8 fake disguises out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 9.6 school plays out of
9.6.
10. Could be like one of my highest rated. I mean,
Yeah.
I've given a couple 10s, but this movie really blew me away. I strange just because I think it's deeper and it has a lot to say about the human condition.
So I'm gonna give it an
Uh,
8.7 out of 10. I think that's right in the center.
okay.
So I had
Yeah,
7.8. You had 9.6.
I just think that just a character. Yeah, and among everything. So I mean, it's a beautiful film.
Oh yeah. No, it's a. I now that
Gorgeous.
we've talked about it, and I've kind of heard your take on it. I definitely think it's my opinion on it has swayed, but not. I still don't think it's better than Strangelove. Like I'm gonna give Strangelove an 8.5.
I'll give Strangelove like a 9 too.
So I actually think so. Oh gosh, 8.5, and it's like the same. I'm 8.7. I guess they both get 8.7.
I'll say that I give Strangelove a
8.7 nukes.
9.2 Kyle Hitters out of 10.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think what two great movies to start with.
Yeah, I thought we were kind of gonna go for and they are sleepers. I think Doctor Strangelove is a lot of people just really kind of a cultural zeitgeist sort of thing.
Yeah.
People recognize, but Lolita, I didn't even did Lolita. We decided to doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, it's good.
Oh no, Lolita's good, man. But with that, now that we've given our rankings, I do think it's time for us to end this episode. It is very close to 1 a.m.
Oh, we've been recording. We've been recording since 9 o'clock.
We've been recording for a very long time. But this is good. This is how it be, baby. This is beyond the screen.
Hey, hey, I'd record another 2 hours, Brian.
Oh no, same. I could just not stop talking. But at
Okay, well,
some point we have to limit ourselves.
yeah. What's a story without?
Sorry, what?
What's a story without the?
Exactly. Are you asking or are you being rhetorical?
Uh, well, Ryan, it's been a pleasure.
It has been, Cole. It's been a great night.
Okay. Goodbye. And audience, just please be safe. Just it's a cold, cold world. Try to find any way you can.
Yes, sir. And to wrap us up on our first two episodes a week moving forward. To wrap this up, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for listening wherever you guys are listening from. If you're not listening on every platform, which I don't expect you guys to, if you're listening on YouTube, share it on Spotify, share it on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, share it on YouTube. Do what you can to make this thing grow. We're a small but sturdy community here. We do this because we love it. We don't really gain anything from it. We get no monetary value yet. Hopefully one day maybe this could be something that we do as a career. Wouldn't that be something?
You know, Ryan, I'm not gonna get my hopes up, but maybe we'll just blow up.
Yeah, we do nothing but be film critics, break film news, and we make films ourselves.
And yes, we make films. That's what. Here's the thing. I you guys you heard it here first. I'm gonna be a filmmaker these days. I guess I already am in a way. Um, and I'm gonna really break down some barriers as to what you all think films should be, because I watch horror thinking what the people who made this film are nothing but a bunch of sissies. I think I think even films like the shock films and stuff, I don't want to make those. Like these are going to be very plot heavy films. But like, come on, I think we're all big kids up. We can see some really gruesome. I plan on being the mouthpiece. Share this.
Yeah. And I really think you'll find a following with that, and I hope that we can make films together and continue to make films together.
We're gonna make some. I'm gonna make a. You want to hear
Sorry, what?
You want to hear a nasty movie I'm gonna make?
Oh Lord. I'm not gonna have this on the air. I do want to
Okay,
hear about it, but I think
it's not sexually nasty
no,
or anything like that.
I know, but I want this
Okay.
to be a surprise. I want when you release this.
Oh yeah.
The only reason I say that is because it is 12:47 a.m. and we've been going for an hour and 45 minutes.
Well, Ryan, let's go to bed.
Let's go to bed, indeed, everybody. If you guys are more awake than we are, as I said, like, share. Love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Cole, say goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you guys. Love you guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Love you.